Captain Dae-sung stood on the bridge of the black ship, his eyes fixed on the main display screen. Something was wrong. He could feel it in his bones, the way a sailor feels a storm coming before the first cloud appears. The screen showed empty space, stars scattered like diamonds on black cloth, but the readings told a different story. "Captain, you need to see this," said Taimin from the navigation station. The young man's voice carried a note of worry that made everyone on the bridge look up. Taimin was never worried. He flew through asteroid fields like other people walked through gardens. If something scared him, it was worth paying attention to. Dae-sung crossed the bridge in 4 long steps. "What do you have?" Taimin pointed at his screen. "The alien fleet, sir. The ones who've been chasing us for 3 weeks. They just changed course. All of them at once. They're running away from this sector at maximum speed." That made Dae-sung pause. The alien coalition had been relentless. They wanted the black ship and its crew badly. These aliens had faster ships, better weapons, and more firepower than any human vessel. They should have caught the black ship days ago, but Dae-sung and his crew had used every trick they knew to stay ahead. For the aliens to suddenly break off their pursuit meant only one thing. They found something more dangerous than us. Dae-sung said quietly. "Sir, I'm picking up some kind of energy wave," called out Hana from the engineering station. The chief engineer's fingers flew across her console, pulling up data streams that made little sense. "It's big, Captain. Really big. And it's coming this way." Dae-sung felt his stomach tighten. "How big?" Hana looked up at him and he saw real fear in her eyes. "It spans at least 4 light years, sir. And it's moving fast. I've never seen readings like this. It's like space itself is tearing apart." The bridge went silent. Everyone stopped what they were doing and stared at the engineering station. Jin-woo, the weapons officer, spoke up from his post. "Captain, request permission to go to battle stations." "No point," Dae-sung said, shaking his head. "You can't shoot a storm, Jin-woo." He turned to face his crew. "Hana, give me everything you know. Don't leave anything out." Hana transferred her data to the main screen. The display showed a massive wall of energy rolling through space like a tsunami. Colors that shouldn't exist swirled and twisted within it. Ships caught in its path simply vanished, torn apart by forces that made nuclear explosions look like candle flames. "It's a subspace rupture," Hana explained, her voice steady despite the fear everyone felt. "Something tore a hole between normal space and subspace. The energy bleeding through is creating this wave. When it hits something, it doesn't just destroy it. It unmakes it, breaks it down to atoms and scatters those atoms across dimensions." "How long until it reaches us?" Dae-sung asked. 6 hours. Maybe 7 if we're lucky. Can we outrun it?" Hana shook her head. "No, sir. The alien ships have faster engines than us. If they can't outrun it, we definitely can't. I've been watching the scanner data. 3 alien cruisers tried to jump to FTL and escape. The wave caught them mid-jump. They're gone." Dae-sung rubbed his jaw, thinking hard. His crew watched him, waiting for orders. They trusted him to find a way out. He had always found a way before, but this time running wouldn't work. Fighting wouldn't work. They needed something else. "If we can't run from it, we go through it," he said finally. Everyone stared at him. Jin-woo stood up from his station. "Captain, with respect, that's suicide. Nothing can survive in that wave." "The alien ships can't," Dae-sung agreed. "Their ships are fast and powerful, but they're built for speed and weapons. Our ship is different. We built the black ship to last. Human engineering, redundant systems, manual overrides. We built it tough because we had to. We didn't have the luxury of alien technology." He walked to the center of the bridge, looking at each crew member in turn. "I know what I'm asking. I know the odds. But here's the truth. We're human. When other species see something impossible, they run. When we see something impossible, we figure out how to get through it. We adapt, we survive. That's what we do." Taimin spoke up. "Captain, even if we could survive the energy wave, the stress on the hull would be massive. We'd need to shut down everything non-essential, route all power to structural integrity. And even then it might not be enough." Dae-sung finished. "I know, but it's our only chance. Hana, can you reinforce the hull? Make this ship strong enough to take the hit?" Hana was already pulling up schematics. "Maybe I'd need to use every trick I know. Manual reinforcement of the bulkheads, redundant power systems, emergency procedures we've never tested. It would take every single person on this ship working together." "Then we do it," Dae-sung said. Sound general quarters. Get everyone to their stations. Hana, you're in charge of reinforcement. Take whoever you need. Jinwoo, secure all weapons and non-essential systems. Taemin, I need you to calculate the best angle for us to face this thing. Find the path through that gives us the best chance. What about the crew, Captain? Asked Dr. Yuna, the medical officer. She had been quiet until now, listening and evaluating. They need to know what we're facing. Daesung nodded. You're right. Open ship-wide communications. A moment later, his voice echoed through every corridor and room on the black ship. This is the captain. 6 hours ago, we were running from an alien fleet. Now we're facing something worse. A subspace rupture is heading our way. The aliens ran. Their ships are faster than ours, but speed won't save them. The wave will catch them and destroy them. He paused, choosing his words carefully. We're not running. We're going to do something the aliens think is impossible. We're going to face this storm head-on and survive it. I won't lie to you. The next few hours will be the hardest any of us have ever faced. Some of us might not make it, but if we work together, if we trust each other and trust this ship, we have a chance. Another pause. I know what the galaxy thinks of humans. They think we're weak because our technology isn't as advanced. They think we don't belong out here in deep space. Today we prove them wrong. Today we show them what humans are made of. We don't break. We don't surrender. And we sure as hell don't run from a fight, even when the fight is against a force of nature itself. He looked around the bridge at his crew. Battle stations, everyone. We have 6 hours to prepare. Let's make them count. Dismissed. The crew erupted into action. People ran to their posts. Alarms sounded throughout the ship. The black ship, humanity's pride, prepared to face the impossible. Daesung stood at the center of it all, calm and focused. He had given them hope. Now he had to deliver on that promise. The storm was coming. The black ship would be ready. Hana moved through the corridors of the black ship like a woman possessed. She carried a portable scanner in one hand and a data pad in the other, her eyes constantly checking readings and making calculations. Behind her, a team of 6 engineers struggled to keep up. Section 12 needs additional bracing, she called out without stopping. The hull integrity there is only 83%. We need it at 95 minimum. Use the emergency support beams from Cargo Bay 4. One of the engineers, a young woman named Bora, ran ahead to comply. Hana barely noticed. Her mind was already 3 problems ahead, calculating stress points and power distribution. The ship had over 200 sections. Each one needed to be checked, reinforced, and double-checked. They had less than 6 hours now. In the engine room, the massive reactor hummed with power. Hana stopped there, looking up at the towering structure. This was the heart of the black ship. Human fusion technology, not as elegant as alien power cores, but reliable, tough, built to take damage and keep running. Chief, we have a problem, called out Minji, one of her best technicians. The young woman was waist-deep in an access panel, her face covered in grease. The secondary power conduits are showing microfractures. They'll hold under normal stress, but if we get hit by that wave, they'll explode and take half the ship with them, Hana finished. She thought for a moment. Bypass them. Route secondary power through the tertiary conduits. That's not rated for that much power, Minji protested. I know, but we don't have time to replace the secondary system. The tertiary will hold long enough. Hana hoped she was right. Do it, and reinforce the coupling joints with manual welds. Old-fashioned but effective. Minji nodded and dove back into her work. Hana moved on. There was so much to do and so little time. On the other side of the ship, Jinwoo was securing the weapons deck. Massive railguns sat silent, their barrels pointed at closed bay doors. Missile racks stood empty, the weapons already stored safely in reinforced magazines. He moved from station to station, checking every seal, every bolt, every connection. A young crew member named Kyung-soo worked beside him, his hands shaking slightly as he secured a power coupling. Jinwoo noticed but said nothing at first. Fear was natural. What mattered was whether you could work through it. Sir, Kyung-soo said suddenly, his voice tight. Why are we doing this? Why not use the escape pods? We could scatter, make ourselves harder targets. Some of us might survive. Jinwoo stopped working and looked at the young man. Kyung-soo couldn't be more than 22 years old. Probably his first deep space assignment. You think the escape pods would survive that wave? I don't know, maybe. They won't, Jinwoo said flatly. Those pods are designed to keep you alive for a few days while rescue arrives. They're not built to handle what's coming. If we abandon ship, we all die, scattered and alone. Kyung-soo's face went pale. Then we're trapped. We can't run, we can't escape. We're just waiting to die. Jinwoo set down his tools and faced the young man directly. Listen to me. I served in the Colonial Defense Force for 8 years before joining this crew. I've been in situations where death seemed certain. Everyone has a moment where they think about running. That's okay. What matters is what you do after that moment. He gestured around the ship. The captain isn't asking us to just sit and wait. He's asking us to fight, not with guns or missiles, but with our hands, our minds, our will to survive. Every bolt we tighten, every seal we check, every system we reinforce is us fighting back. That's what humans do. We don't accept death. We spit in its face and make it work for every inch. Kyung-soo stared at him for a long moment, then slowly nodded. His hand stopped shaking. Yes, sir. What do you need me to do? Help me secure these blast doors. Make sure they'll hold even if we lose main power. Jinwoo allowed himself a small smile. Good man. In the medical bay, Dr. Yuna prepared for casualties. She hoped there wouldn't be any, but hope wasn't a strategy. She secured every piece of equipment, strapping down beds, locking cabinets, ensuring that if the ship rolled or shook, nothing would fly around and hurt people. Her assistant, a young medic named Jae-won, helped her organize supplies, bandages, plasma packs, surgical tools, emergency stimulants. Everything they might need was laid out in easy reach and secured against movement. Doctor, do you think we'll make it? Jae-won asked quietly. Yuna paused in her work. I think we have a chance. Captain Dae-sung wouldn't put us through this if he didn't believe we could survive. But you've seen the readings. That wave destroys everything it touches. It destroys everything the aliens have built, Yuna corrected. We're not aliens. Human ships are different. We build them differently because we have to. We can't match alien speed or firepower, so we make our ships tough, redundant, able to take damage and keep functioning. She smiled slightly, like humans themselves. On the bridge, Taemin ran simulation after simulation. His screen showed hundreds of possible angles, each one calculated for the best chance of survival. The navigator's young face was tight with concentration as he worked through the math. Captain, I have preliminary results, he called out. Dae-sung left his command chair and came to look over Taemin's shoulder. Show me. If we face the wave head-on, bow first, we have a 31% chance of survival. If we try to present our smallest profile and slip through sideways, that drops to 18%. The storm is too wide, but Taemin highlighted a specific trajectory. If we angle the ship at 47 degrees, nose slightly down, and use minimal thrusters to adjust our rotation, we can ride the edge of the wave. It increases our survival chance to 42%. 42%, Dae-sung repeated. Not great odds. No, sir, but it's the best I can give you. Dae-sung clapped the young navigator on the shoulder. Then 42% is what we'll work with. Good job, Taemin. Send those coordinates to Helm Control and to Hana. She'll need to know where to reinforce the hull. Yes, sir. Throughout the ship, the crew worked with desperate efficiency. In cargo bays, teams secured loose equipment and reinforced walls. In crew quarters, people strapped down everything that could move. In the mess hall, the cook secured food supplies and water tanks. Everyone knew what was at stake. Everyone understood that their survival depended on every single person doing their job perfectly. There was no room for error, no second chances. The storm would not be merciful. Hana found herself in the lower engineering deck, a place most crew members never saw. Here, massive support struts held the ship's frame together. She ran her scanner over each one, checking for weaknesses. A hairline crack here could mean catastrophic failure when the wave hit. Bora, bring me the reinforcement kit, she called. When the young engineer arrived, Hana pointed at a support beam. See that stress line? We need to brace it. Use the polymer compound, not the metal. It needs to flex, not break. Yes, Chief. Hana watched her work for a moment, then moved on. So much to do, so little time. She glanced at her chronometer. 4 hours remaining. They were running out of time. Back on the bridge, Dae-sung stood at the main viewport, staring out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the wave was coming. He couldn't see it yet, but he knew it was there. An unstoppable force tearing through space, destroying everything in its path. Jinwoo joined him at the viewport. Ship is secure, Captain. Weapons locked down. Non-essential systems shut down. We're as ready as we can be. Good. Thank you, Jinwoo. They stood in silence for a moment. Finally, Jinwoo spoke. Do you really think we can survive this? Daesung considered the question carefully. I think we have a better chance than anyone expects. The aliens are running because they're afraid. Fear makes you weak. We're not running. We're preparing, adapting, doing what humans have always done when faced with the impossible. And what's that? Daesung smiled grimly. Whatever it takes to survive. We're not the strongest species. We're not the smartest or the fastest. But we're the most stubborn. We don't know when to quit. That might be enough. The ship's intercom crackled. Captain, this is Hana. Reinforcement is complete. All sections report ready. We're as strong as we can make her. Acknowledged. All hands prepare for impact. 3 hours and counting. Battle stations, the black ship was ready. Now came the hard part. The waiting. The first sign was a vibration. Not loud, not dramatic. Just a faint tremor that ran through the deck plates under their feet. Daesung felt it and knew their time was up. The storm had arrived. All hands brace for impact, he said calmly into the ship-wide communication system. Here we go. On the main screen, space itself began to change. The stars twisted and bent, their light stretching into impossible shapes. Colors that shouldn't exist bled into reality. Purple mixed with sounds, green tasted like metal. Reality itself became confused. The wave was visible now, a wall of pure chaos rolling toward them. Taemin gripped his controls with white knuckles. Captain adjusting to optimal angle now. 47 degrees, nose down, thrusters at minimum power. The black ship slowly rotated, presenting its reinforced bow to the incoming storm. Daesung watched the angle indicator on his display, counting off the degrees. The ship had to be positioned perfectly. Too steep and the wave would catch them wrong. Too shallow and they'd be torn apart. Angle locked, Taemin announced. We're in position. All sections, final status check, Daesung ordered. Reports came in rapid succession. Engineering, green. Medical, green. Weapons secured. Life support functioning. Crew quarters sealed. Everything was as ready as it could be. Then the wave hit. The impact was like being struck by a mountain. The entire ship lurched sideways, throwing anyone not strapped down across the room. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered and died, replaced by emergency red lighting. The hull groaned, a sound like a living thing in pain. Hull integrity at 87% and dropping. Hana shouted over the noise. Her station sparked, sending a shower of sparks across her console. She ignored it, her fingers flying over backup controls. Rerouting power to structural fields, Section 12 showing stress fractures. The ship shuddered again, harder this time. Through the viewport, reality had become madness. They were inside the wave now, surrounded by forces that tore at the fabric of space itself. Energy arced across the hull, dancing like lightning. Port side structural field failing, Jinwoo called out. Section 7 is losing pressure. Automatic seals aren't responding. Daesung made an instant decision. Jinwoo, take a team. Manual override on those seals. We can't lose Section 7. Jinwoo was already moving, grabbing his emergency helmet. On it, Captain. He ran from the bridge, the door sealing behind him with a hiss. The corridors were chaos. Emergency lights cast everything in red. Crew members ran to their stations, fighting against the ship's violent movements. Jinwoo barely kept his feet as another impact threw him against a wall. Team 2 on me, he shouted into his helmet radio. 3 crew members appeared from a side corridor, all wearing emergency suits. Section 7 is decompressing. We need to reach the manual override before the whole section vents. They ran through the corridors, using handholds to pull themselves forward when the gravity fluctuated. The ship bucked and twisted around them like a wild animal. Behind them, a power conduit exploded, filling the corridor with smoke. In engineering, Hana fought to keep the reactor stable. The massive fusion core was designed to handle stress, but nothing like this. Readings jumped across her screens, each one demanding immediate attention. Minji, I need more power to the forward structural fields, she shouted. We're at maximum capacity, Minji shouted back. If I push any harder, the conduits will overload. Then let them overload. We need that power now, or there won't be a ship to worry about. Minji hesitated for only a second, then nodded. She threw switches, routing more power through systems already screaming in protest. The lights brightened, then dimmed. Somewhere in the ship, something exploded. Jinwoo and his team reached Section 7. Through the pressure door window, they could see the corridor beyond. Air was rushing out through a crack in the hull, creating a wind that turned loose objects into deadly projectiles. Two crew members were trapped in there, holding on to support beams for dear life. The manual override is on the other side, one of Jinwoo's team members said, his voice tight with fear. We'd have to go through the decompression to reach it. Jinwoo checked his suit seals. Then that's what we do. Check your seals, everyone. We're going in. He hit the emergency release on the pressure door. It slid open and they were immediately hit by the rushing wind. Jinwoo grabbed the doorframe and pulled himself through hand over hand. The wind tore at him, trying to pull him toward the hull breach. His team followed, each one fighting the decompression. They made it halfway across the corridor when the ship lurched again. One of the team members lost his grip and flew backward, tumbling toward the breach. Jinwoo lunged, catching the man's ankle at the last second. I've got you, he grunted, pulling the crew member back to safety. Keep moving. They reached the manual override panel. Jinwoo ripped open the cover and found the mechanical release. It was a simple lever designed to work even without power. He threw his weight against it. Nothing happened. The mechanism was jammed. Help me, he called. All four of them grabbed the lever and pulled. Metal screamed in protest. The lever moved, inch by agonizing inch. Finally, with a loud clang, it gave way. Emergency seals slammed down across the hull breach, cutting off the decompression. The two trapped crew members collapsed, gasping. Jinwoo checked them quickly. Can you walk? They nodded, too breathless to speak. Then let's get out of here. This section isn't safe. On the bridge, Dae-sung watched the damage reports scroll across his screen. They were bad and getting worse. The ship was taking a beating unlike anything it had ever experienced. Hull breaches in 3 sections. Power failures across 6 decks. Life support strained to its limits, but they were still here. Still fighting, still alive. Captain, the wave is intensifying, Taemin reported, his voice strained. It's beyond anything in my simulations. We're experiencing forces that should tear the ship apart. But they're not, Dae-sung said. We're still here. Hold the course, Taemin. Don't deviate even a fraction of a degree. The young navigator nodded, his hands steady on the controls despite everything. He was terrified, Dae-sung could see that, but he was doing his job. That was all anyone could ask. In medical, Dr. Yuna treated injuries as crew members were brought in. Burns from exploding consoles, broken bones from falls. One man with a piece of shrapnel in his shoulder. She worked quickly and efficiently, her assistant Jae-won handing her tools before she asked for them. How many casualties? She asked without looking up from her work. 18 injured so far. Jae-won replied, checking his data pad. None critical. No fatalities yet. Yet, Yuna repeated. The word hung in the air between them. The storm wasn't over. It was far from over. Hana's voice crackled over the ship-wide communication system. Captain, I'm reading a cascade failure in the portside power grid. If it spreads to the main systems, we'll lose everything. Can you stop it? Dae-sung asked. I can try, but I'll need to shut down power to sections 9 through 14. That includes some of the crew quarters. Do it. Get those people to emergency stations. The lights in those sections went dark. Crew members evacuated quickly, moving through the corridors by emergency lighting. The ship was shrinking around them, system by system, section by section. But the essential systems held. The black ship continued to shake and groan, battered by forces that defied understanding. Through the viewport, the chaos of the storm surrounded them. They were deep in the heart of it now, swimming through madness itself. Jinwoo made it back to the bridge, his suit scorched and dented. Section 7 is sealed, Captain. We have some injuries, but everyone's alive. Good work. Take your post. Jinwoo slumped into his chair, exhausted but still alert. Around him, the crew continued to fight. Every person at their station, every hand doing its part. This was humanity at its finest. Not the strongest, not the most advanced, but absolutely refusing to give up. Dae-sung stood at the center of the bridge, a calm point in the storm. His face was cut from when the main screen had shattered earlier, blood running down his cheek. He didn't bother to wipe it away. His eyes were fixed on the sensor readings, watching the wave, calculating their chances. They were halfway through now, halfway through hell. The ship was damaged but intact. The crew was battered but unbroken. If they could just hold on a little longer, they might actually make it. The storm raged on and the black ship endured. 2 hours into the storm, the black ship was dying. Not quickly, not dramatically, but slowly and steadily. System after system began to fail under the relentless assault. The crew fought desperately to keep the ship alive, but they were losing ground. Main power at 23%, Hana reported, her voice hoarse from shouting over the noise. We're running on emergency reserves. If we lose any more, life support will start failing. Dae-sung stared at the power distribution display. They had cut everything non-essential. The ship was running on the bare minimum needed to keep people alive and the hull together. There was nothing left to cut. How long can we hold at current levels? He asked. Hana checked her readings. 30 minutes. Maybe 40 if we're lucky. After that, we'll have to choose between life support and structural integrity. That was the nightmare scenario. Choose to breathe and the ship breaks apart. Choose to keep the ship together and everyone suffocates. Dae-sung felt the weight of command pressing down on him. 347 people on this ship, all counting on him to find a way. In engineering, things were getting worse. The main reactor was stable, but barely. Minji monitored it constantly, watching for any sign of catastrophic failure. The radiation shielding was holding, but stress fractures were appearing in the containment field. Chief, we have a problem, she called to Hana over the communication system. Her voice was steady, but there was an undertone of fear. The plasma core is starting to destabilize. Small fluctuations right now, but they're growing. Hana felt her blood go cold. How bad? If it continues at this rate, we'll have a full breach in 45 minutes. When that happens, the reactor will go critical. We'll have maybe 3 minutes before it explodes. Can you stabilize it? There was a long pause. Not remotely. Someone would need to manually vent the plasma core, reset the magnetic containment fields from inside the reactor room. It would stop the destabilization. Hana closed her eyes. She knew what that meant. The radiation levels in the reactor room during a manual vent were lethal. Whoever went in there wouldn't come back out alive. I'm on my way, she said quietly. Chief, wait. There has to be another way. There isn't, you know that as well as I do. Keep the ship running, Minji. That's an order. Hana stood up from her station and headed for the reactor room. She didn't tell the captain. Didn't ask permission. Some decisions had to be made alone. She sealed her environment suit and entered the access corridor. Minji watched her go on the security cameras. Her hands hovered over her controls, mind racing. There had to be another way. There had to be. But she knew engineering as well as Hana did. She knew the truth. Then Minji made a decision. She sealed the reactor room door remotely, locking Hana out. Before the chief could override it, Minji was already moving, running toward the reactor room through a different access tunnel. Minji, what are you doing? Hana's voice crackled over the communication system. Unlock this door. No, Chief, with respect, no. Minji reached the reactor room and sealed herself inside. Through the thick glass window, she could see the massive reactor core, energy swirling within it like a caged sun. You're too important to this ship. The crew needs you, but they don't need me. I'm a good technician, but there are others who can do my job. Minji, that's not true. Don't do this. It is true, and you know it. Minji pulled up the manual vent procedures on her suit display. Her hands were remarkably steady. Besides, someone has to do it. Might as well be me. On the bridge, Dae-sung listened to the exchange. He understood what was happening. One of his crew was about to sacrifice herself to save the ship. He could order her to stop, but what good would that do? The reactor had to be stabilized. If Minji didn't do it, someone else would have to. At least this way it was her choice. Dr. Yuna had heard the conversation too. She ran from medical toward the reactor room, but she knew she wouldn't make it in time. Even if she did, there was nothing she could do. The radiation levels were already climbing. Whoever was in that room was already dead. They just didn't know it yet. Minji began the venting procedure. It was a complex process, requiring precise timing and careful adjustment of magnetic fields. One mistake and the whole reactor could explode immediately. She worked carefully, methodically, following each step exactly as she had been trained. Talk to me, Minji, Hana said over the communication channel. Her voice was thick with emotion. Tell me what you're seeing. Pressure is dropping. Plasma containment is stabilizing. Magnetic fields are coming back into alignment. Minji's voice was calm, almost peaceful. It's working, Chief. The reactor is stabilizing. Around the ship, crew members stopped what they were doing to listen. Word had spread quickly. One of their own was dying to save them all. In engineering and medical on the bridge, in crew quarters, people stood silent, listening to a young technician's last moments. How are you feeling? Yuna asked gently over the communication system. Not bad, actually. The suit is filtering most of the radiation. I can feel it, though. Like heat pressing against my skin. Minji adjusted another setting on the reactor. Almost done. Just need to lock in these final adjustments. In the reactor control room, Hana watched the readings through her tears. The reactor was stabilizing. Minji was doing it. The ship would survive. But the cost was so high. Minji, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Don't be, Chief. This is what we do, right? We protect the ship. We protect the crew. That's the job. Minji finished the last adjustment. There, reactor is stable. Magnetic containment locked. You should be good for the rest of the storm. Thank you, Hana whispered. Thank you so much. Tell my family I died doing something important. Tell them I wasn't scared. Minji sat down heavily on the floor, leaning against the reactor housing. Her suit's radiation counter was screaming. She muted it. Tell them I died being human. That matters. Dae-sung spoke up from the bridge, his voice carrying to every corner of the ship. Technician Minji, on behalf of all of us, thank you. Your sacrifice will be remembered. Your name will be honored. You are what humanity aspires to be. Thank you, Captain. Minji's voice was getting weaker now. The radiation was doing its work. How's the ship doing? Still fighting. Still alive. Because of you. Good. That's good. There was a long pause. It's getting hard to see. Everything's going fuzzy. Yuna's voice was gentle. That's normal, Minji. Don't fight it. Just rest. Will you stay with me? I don't want to be alone. We're all here, Yuna said. Every single person on this ship is with you. You're not alone. Throughout the black ship, crew members sat at their stations, tears running down their faces, listening to a young woman's last words, listening to someone die so they could live. I can hear my mother's voice, Minji said softly. She's calling me home. It's nice. Her breathing became slower, shallower. The suit's medical monitors showed her vital signs failing. Heart rate dropping. Brain activity decreasing. But when she spoke again, her voice was clear and strong one last time. Tell them I held the line. Tell them humanity doesn't break. Then silence. The medical monitors went flat. Minji was gone. Dae-sung stood on the bridge, staring at the displays through blurred vision. Around him, his crew wept openly. They had lost one of their own. A young woman who shouldn't have died, who had her whole life ahead of her, but she had made a choice, and that choice had saved them all. All hands, he said quietly. Moment of silence for Technician Minji. She gave everything for this ship and this crew. We will not forget her sacrifice. For 60 seconds, the black ship fell silent. 346 people scattered through corridors and compartments, honored their fallen comrade. Then slowly they returned to their duties. The storm wasn't over yet. They had to finish what Minji had started. They had to survive. But Dae-sung stared at the sensor readings with growing dread. The reactor was stable now, but they still had the original problem. In less than 20 minutes, they would have to choose between life support and hull integrity. Minji had bought them time, but she hadn't solved the fundamental crisis. He looked at the swirling chaos outside the viewport. The storm raged on, showing no signs of ending. They were trapped in hell, running out of time, and he was out of options. Then an idea came to him. A terrible, insane idea. The kind of idea that should never work. The kind of idea that would get them all killed if it failed, but it was the only chance they had left. Hana, he said slowly, could we jump to FTL while we're in the storm? Everyone on the bridge froze. Even suggesting such a thing was madness. FTL drives required stable space to function. Trying to open a wormhole inside a subspace rupture should be impossible. Captain, Hana said carefully, that goes against every law of physics. The FTL drive needs a stable substrate to punch through. Inside this storm, there is no stable space. We'd be trying to open a wormhole inside another wormhole. I know. But could it work? Hana was quiet for a long moment, running calculations. Maybe. If we timed it exactly right, used the storm's own energy to boost our jump, we could theoretically slingshot through the storm instead of fighting through it. But the odds, what are the odds? Dae-sung asked. Less than 1%. Probably much less. We'd most likely just explode. Dae-sung looked around at his crew. Jinwoo met his eyes and gave a small nod. Taemin did the same. Hana's hands moved across her console, bringing the FTL drive online. Warning lights flashed across her screen, each one telling her this was suicide. The drive was never meant to be used like this, never meant to activate inside a storm that was already tearing at the fabric of space. FTL drive charging, she reported. Her voice was surprisingly steady. Estimated time to full charge 90 seconds. Taemin was calculating jump coordinates, but there were no coordinates. They weren't jumping to a destination. They were jumping through the storm itself, using its energy as a boost. He had never attempted anything like this in training. No one had. It shouldn't be possible. Captain, I can't give you proper coordinates. The storm is constantly shifting. I'll have to calculate the jump in real time and hope we don't materialize inside a star. Do your best, Daesung said. That's all anyone can ask. Jin-Woo strapped himself into his chair and sealed his restraints. Around the ship, crew members did the same. They wedged themselves into corners, grabbed handholds, prepared for the worst. If this jump went wrong, there would be no time to react. They would simply cease to exist. FTL drive at 50% charge, Hana announced. The ship began to vibrate differently now. A deeper rumble underlying the chaos of the storm. The drive was powering up, pulling energy from the reactor that Minji had stabilized with her life. Dae-sung thought about the young technician. If they failed now, her sacrifice would be meaningless. But if they succeeded, if this impossible jump worked, she would be the reason they all survived. He silently promised her that they would make it. They had to. 75% charge. The drive is holding stable but barely. The interference from the storm is massive. Through the viewport, the chaos seemed to intensify, as if the universe itself knew what they were attempting and was angry about it. Energy arcs danced across the hull, drawn to the building power of the FTL drive. The ship groaned under impossible stresses. Captain, Taemin said suddenly, I have a window. The storm's energy is cycling. In 15 seconds, there will be a brief moment where the interference drops. If we jump, then we might have a chance. How brief? Less than a second. I'll have to activate the jump at exactly the right moment. Daesung looked at his young navigator. So much responsibility on such young shoulders. I trust you, Taemin. The navigator nodded, his eyes fixed on his screens. FTL drive ready, Hana? 90%, 95, full charge achieved. Drive ready to jump on your mark. 10 seconds to window, Taemin counted down. His finger hovered over the activation control. Everything came down to this moment. One wrong move and they all died. 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1, jump. He hit the control. The FTL drive screamed to life. Space around the black ship tore open, a wormhole forming inside the storm. For a moment that seemed to last forever, two impossible forces fought for dominance. The storm trying to tear them apart. The FTL drive trying to pull them through. Then the black ship jumped. Reality inverted. Up became down. Forward became backward. Time lost all meaning. The crew experienced 3 seconds that felt like 3 years. They saw through the walls of the universe. Saw the underlying structure of existence itself. Colors that had no names. Sounds that weren't sounds. Thoughts that weren't thoughts. Daesung felt his consciousness expand and contract. He was everywhere and nowhere. He was every human who had ever lived and every human who would ever live. He understood the universe and understood nothing. It was beautiful and terrible and completely overwhelming. Then, as suddenly as it began, it ended. The black ship materialized in normal space. The sudden return to reality was jarring. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered. The ship tumbled end over end, completely out of control. But they were through. They had survived. Emergency power only, Hana reported, her voice shaky. Main systems are offline. We're running on backup batteries. Life support is functioning. Hull integrity at 42% but holding. Taemin fought with the controls, trying to stop the ship's tumble. Slowly, using minimal thruster power, he brought them under control. The spinning stopped. The black ship hung motionless in space, battered and broken, but intact. Damage report, Daesung ordered. His voice sounded strange in his own ears, as if he had forgotten how to speak. Reports came in from all sections. Hull breaches in 12 sections. Power failures across most of the ship. Communications barely functional. The medical bay was overwhelmed with injuries. But they were alive. 346 people, all still breathing. Captain, Jinwoo said quietly, I'm not detecting the storm. We're in clear space. Everyone turned to look at the main screen. It was cracked and barely functioning, but the image was clear enough. Stars. Normal stars, steady and bright. No chaos, no storm, just peaceful, empty space. We did it, Taemin whispered. We actually did it. For a moment, no one spoke. The reality of their survival was too much to process. They had faced the impossible and won, not through superior technology or firepower, but through human determination and ingenuity. Then the bridge erupted in cheers. People hugged each other, laughed, cried. They had survived. Against all odds, against the laws of physics themselves, they had survived. Daesung allowed himself a small smile, but he couldn't celebrate yet. Damage control teams begin repairs. Medical, start treating the injured. Engineering, get me a status report on all major systems. We're not safe yet. The celebration faded as professionalism returned. The crew went back to work, but with a new lightness in their movements. They had been tested and had not broken. In medical, Dr. Yuna worked on the injured. Broken bones, burns, one crew member with a severe head injury, but no fatalities, except for Minji. Yuna thought about the young technician often as she worked. Without her sacrifice, none of them would be here. Hana sat in engineering, staring at the reactor that Minji had saved. The young woman's body was still in the reactor room, too radioactive to be moved safely. They would hold a proper funeral later, once the ship was stable. For now, Hana made a silent promise to never forget what Minji had done. On the bridge, Daesung stood at the observation window, looking at the damaged hull. The black ship was scarred, burned, barely functional. But it was still here. Still whole. A testament to human engineering and human will. Jinwoo joined him at the window. Captain, long-range communications are back online. The automatic telemetry system sent our data to Earth during the jump. What data? Everything. The storm, our survival, the jump. All of it went out on automated systems before we even realized we'd survived. Daesung considered that. So Earth knows what happened? Yes, sir. And more importantly, the alien coalition's monitoring stations would have picked up the transmission too. They'll know that we survived something that destroyed their fleet. They'll know that human ships, human engineering succeeded where theirs failed. A slow smile spread across Daesung's face. Good, let them know. Let the whole galaxy know. Over the next hours, the crew worked to stabilize the black ship. Power was restored to critical systems. Hull breaches were patched. The wounded were treated. Slowly, the ship came back to life. In the mess hall, crew members gathered for the first meal after the storm. The food was simple. Emergency rations heated in portable warmers, but it tasted like the finest cuisine. They were alive to taste it. Captain Daesung visited each section of the ship, talking to crew members, checking on their well-being. He found Kyung-soo, the young man who had been afraid before the storm, working on a damaged power conduit. How are you doing? Daesung asked. Kyung-soo looked up, his face dirty but his eyes bright. I'm good, sir. Really good. I understand now what you meant. About being human. About not giving up. You did well during the storm. Jinwoo told me you worked harder than anyone. The young man smiled. I had good teachers, sir. The whole crew showed me what it means to be human. Daesung nodded and moved on. This was what he was most proud of. Not the survival itself, but what they had learned, what they had become. Later, the senior staff gathered on the bridge. The black ship was limping toward the nearest human outpost, moving slowly on minimal power. Repairs would take months, but they would make it. We lost 12 crew members, Yuna reported quietly. Most in Section 9 when it explosively decompressed. And Minji in engineering. They'll be remembered, Daesung said. All of them. They gave their lives so humanity could prove itself. Did we prove ourselves? Taemin asked. I mean, we survived, but at such a cost. Daesung looked at his young navigator. We proved that humans don't break. We bend, we adapt, we sacrifice, but we don't break. The aliens ran from that storm because they were afraid. We faced it head on. We lost people, yes, but we survived as a crew, as a community. That's what makes us human. He walked to the observation window and looked out at the scarred hull. That ship out there is more than metal and circuits. It's a symbol. It proves that humanity belongs out here among the stars. We're not the strongest species. We're not the most advanced. But we're here and we're not leaving. The crew stood in silence looking at their ship. The black ship was damaged, burned, barely functional. But it was beautiful. Every scar, every burned panel, every patched breach was proof of human determination. What happens now? Jinwoo asked. Now we go home, Daesung said. We repair our ship.